Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Cody Thomas. Now it's the top of the hour, and we are still waiting on that verdict in Alaska, where a jury is deciding the fate of Zarrius Hildabrand. They've been deliberating almost 9 hours. Now, this defendant is accused of fatally shooting his wife Soraya, then dumping her body in a drain pipe. But he says she died by suicide, and he panicked to cover up the death to avoid being a suspect. Now, of course, we have our eyes on that courtroom waiting for any movement. 9 hours, shocking. As we continue to wait for that jury in Alaska, let's head back to Tennessee, where Blvd Taylor is on trial for the deaths of his girlfriend Jade Benning and her unborn child. Prosecutors and friends of Bennings that have taken the stand say Taylor didn't want the child, painting a motive for poisoning her by using cocaine, overdosing her, really. But the defense says there's no evidence that Taylor poisoned her, and it was actually the victim's own drug use that caused her death. Let's get you back inside the courtroom, where we are seeing contents from Bennings' phone.
Just from a slightly different angle, but ultimately a very, very similar photograph to the last.
And the next image, which is page 20.
Again, moments later, this one ending in 3409 from the opposite end of the countertop, but ultimately the same photograph.
And the next image, which is page 21.
Ending in 3410.jpg, basically the same picture again, just a whole series of them.
And this next image, which is page 22.
So this is one of those photographs being shared with an individual saved in her contact list as B. This was sent at 6:48:26 p.m.
And can you explain what the, I guess, kind of object is under the message column for that communication with B?
Oh, under the additional detail, yes. So the software is only as good as it understands what Apple operating system is, how it's reading it. So as any software exists in the world, there's constantly updates. Things are altered slightly, databases are altered slightly. At this time, so that being said, there's constant cat and mouse games of our software and our hardware being able to catch up and do and understand everything that iPhone is currently running at that time. So it's always a cat and mouse game. At this point in time, our software was not able to provide an exact sample image or a preview of that image that was sent in the message. So it shows that an object was sent with just a very basic icon saying an object was sent in this message. Looking at the artifact information for the message itself, again, it says an object just there to the right of the word message. But if we go down a little bit lower and look at the attachment path, and if we follow that all the way to the very end, you'll see that there's a title of the image that was actually sent. If you search for that title, then you can reference back to what was actually sent, which is how we identify the photograph that was sent in that message.
And the next image, which is page 23.
Between 6:51 and 6:55, a few text messages are shared between Blvd and Jade. Mr. Taylor, I'm
sorry, can you describe the content of the messages?
Yes, on 2/25/23 at 6:51, a message was sent to Jade from Blvd that states "on my way," and roughly 4 minutes later, Jade loved that image or hearted that image, or that message.
And what else is included on this page 23?
At 6:55 p.m., Zarrius Porter received a message from Jade.
And is it received or sent?
She sent yeah. I'm sorry, I said that in a confusing way, but she submitted a text to him. She sent it to him.
And the next page, which is 24.
So this is a phone call that was an incoming call to Jade's phone from Mr. Taylor's device.
And can you give the date and time?
It was at February 25th, 23 at 6:59:49 p.m.
And And what was the call duration?
It was 10 seconds.
Connor, I'm at somewhat of a stopping point if it is
Okay,
time for the
that's
board.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you going a little further. I think the court staff told you about an event the court needs to go to just briefly down the hallway, and that will be also during the time you break for lunch. So remember what I said about not discussing the case for you.
All right, let's bring in our guest this hour, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf. Jeffrey, great to see you, my friend. It's been a few weeks since we've done this rodeo, but always enjoy you on the program. Jeffrey, I feel like the defense is doing a good job of muddying the waters here and creating enough reasonable doubt, because I see a lot of it. I want to start here with the woman that was from the Nashville crime lab. She was talking about how she didn't detect any controlled substances in the glasses and the bottles that she tested, not in the liquids. She didn't test the food that was there, which I feel like was a missed opportunity by the investigators. But the glaring question is, where did this cocaine come from? That question is yet to be answered. We haven't seen no communications about going to get it. It's not in the things that she's tested. It just, all the cocaine just happens to be in Jade's system. That's a huge unanswered question by the prosecution right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we heard all the allegations that, she was saying it must have been in her drink at the time when this trial was getting ready to get started. And now they're saying they can't find it in any of the things that she had to drink or had to eat. And they didn't even test the food, right? So how did he drug her if it's not in any of the substances that she took in, if she didn't just take it herself like the defense is contending?
And Jeffrey, we just heard there, they're going back and forth with these communications. He's on the way to her place at 6:55. We'll round up to 7. Let's just assume maybe he lives 15, 20 minutes away. They do this paint and sip. They've got the dinner ready. The call to 911 comes in around 9:35, but she's on the phone with her friend with the whole, I think he put something in my drink at 9:25-ish. So you have 2 hours to get there, hang out a little bit, do this paint and sip, slip some cocaine in the drink, then call 911. And let's not forget, Jeffrey, he kind of calls 911 in this timely manner in like a 10-minute period. It doesn't seem like he has much time to conjure up a crime scene type situation. It's just, again, a lot of reasonable doubt here. What are you making from these communications in the timeline, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, typically what we see in stories where somebody is, setting the scene for law enforcement before they get there, when they do call, is we're having to see them clean up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're having to see them clean up after a struggle that's ensued. Even if somebody hasn't been murdered in a brutal fashion, they're having to clean up something that's gone on. If they've drugged somebody, there's been some sort of struggle that's ensued, because that didn't have time to occur in this situation. And, certainly the perfect crimes exist, but man, it's a short amount of time to clean up after yourself to have nothing found later.
Absolutely, especially when she's on the phone with this friend who, not an eyewitness, but you're hearing things going on in the background. Stand by, my friend. Let's get back inside the courtroom for more testimony from this detective.
He received a text from Zarrius Porter on the same date.
I'm sorry.
Oh, just dating on the same date as all.
And the next page.
Can you describe what's shown here?
At 7:13, Jade answers a call from Najea that lasts approximately 1 minute on 2:25 at 7:13 p.m. And then it also just picks a text message that was received from Najea saying Blaze is probably going to like this. Blaze is probably like this expletive on 2:25 at 7:56 p.m.
And is the expletive followed by a couple of laughing emojis?
Yes.
And that was page 27.
Can you describe what's on the next page?
Jade receives a Snapchat message from an individual named Braylon, and that was at 2:25 at 7:23:01 p.m.
And there's an image with that. Is that, I guess, can you kind of describe, that's just a message, correct?
Correct. The picture in and of itself is the message.
That was page 28. This is page 29. Can you describe what's shown here?
A series of texts that were sent within a minute of each other, starting with one from Jade to Najaya saying, LOL, I'm about to make the plate at 7:24:32. Najaya responds, okay, we're close at 7:24:48. And then Najaya sending again, I just had to have it, followed by 2 emojis at 7:24:55.
And this next page, which is page 30, is that, can you describe what that is?
It's just a different way to display the exact same information, just a little bit more digestible is all.
And the next page, which is 31, can you describe what's shown here?
Depicts a phone call that was incoming to Jay's device from Najaya that was answered, and it lasted about 9 seconds at 7:33:58 p.m. on the 25th.
And the next page, which is 32, can you describe what's shown here?
Between the hours of 8:03 and 8:29 p.m., texts are traded between Najaya and Jade shortly after Najaya leaves the residence.
And so there was no communication directly between Jade and Najaya from that 7:30, what our last page was, 7:33 until that 8:03. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then the next page, which is 33, can you describe what's shown here?
This is the series of texts again, just in a different format.
And can you describe, there's kind of a gray box and a blue box. Who is the person whose messages are in blue?
So, like I was referring to earlier, the messages that are extending from the left side of the screen, those are going to be the individual that Jade was communicating with. Those in blue that are extending from the right side of the screen, those are going to be Jade's statements or Jade's texts.
And for the record, can you read out the content of the text from Najaya on 2/25/23 and 8:03:06 p.m.?
Yes. It says, that was a cute interaction we all had. I hope you all had a great date night. Love you, with a handful of heart emojis afterwards.
And the next page is page 34. Can you describe what's shown here?
Another series of texts shortly after the previous slide that we were just looking at, a continuation of the conversation.
And specifically, can you read out the content of the message on 2/25/23 at 8:12:22 p.m.?
Yes. It states, oh, that was sweet of him, with 2 emojis following it. I didn't want to intrude. We can definitely plan something soon, and he can teach us how to play spades.
And the next page, which is 35, can you describe the content of this page?
Yes, so this is one of those databases I was referring to earlier that Apple collects from all iPhones that they use to improve our user experience, to improve software, so on and so forth. This one specifically is from a database that they refer to as Knowledge C, and this portion of the database focuses on the locked states of the device, so when it was unlocked or when it was locked. So it has a period of time of when it started a locked state, when it stopped that locked state, and then there's a recorded line, another column that says recorded. That varies from time to time. That's just when it was entered into the database. The start and the stop is what you need to focus on, is what we focus on, I should say.
And can you read into the record the start and end date and time for the unlocked entry that is highlighted?
All right, more from this detective after this short break. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Everything was fine, and then I don't know what's happening. So we got out of my mouth, she's shaking.
And she was like, I know you put something in my drink.
Saying like she didn't feel good and stuff, and I was just trying to help her, and then I panicked.
There was some sort of like panic in his voice.
I felt like it was cleaner than it should have been.
What is some other she could be smoking, Miss Jackson?
Mushrooms.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Cody Thomas. Now, the state called their key witness yesterday, the victim Jade Benning's best friend, Najee Jackson. She testified to receiving a phone call from Jade saying she could hear her talking to Blaze Taylor, the defendant here, and that Jade said, "Blaze, you're scaring me, and I know you put something in my drink." But the defense on cross-examination has challenged the prosecution's theory and have shown a tampered crime scene where Benning's friends moved and removed items from Benning's apartment. Currently, detective is on the stand for the prosecution, and he's testifying about activity on Benning's phone the night of the incident.
Right of it is the detail information for that photograph. So the first one being 34313.jpg was taken at 9:24:33 p.m. And it also again has the location information stored inside that photograph, or in the details of that photograph, that it was taken at her apartment. The following picture was, again, these will be kind of in a consecutive order as well because they were taken fairly shortly after the first one. Next one being 3414.jpg at 9:24:41 p.m.
And the next page, which is 54, can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, same.
I apologize, that's 53.
Page 53? Oh, yeah. Very first photograph at the top, ending in 3415.jpg, was taken at 9:25:17 p.m. Then 3416 was taken at 9:25:32 p.m. and then 3417 was taken at 9:25:51 p.m.
And the next page, which is 54, can you describe what's shown here?
Same way we're looking at the extension of that same series. So ending in 3418.jpg was taken at 9:27:02 p.m. 3419.jpg was taken at 9:27:38 p.m. and then 3420.jpg was taken at 9:27:45 p.m.
And the next page, which is 55, can you describe what's shown here?
3421.jpg was taken at 9:27:54. 3421.jpg was taken at 9:27:59. And then 3423.jpg was taken at 9:28:20 on the 25th.
And the next page, which is 56, does that just reiterate all of the dates and times of those photographs?
Yes.
And this next page is 57. Can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, this is image 3424.jpg taken at 9:28:45 p.m. but then was also subsequently marked for deletion at 9:29:12 p.m.
And when you say mark for deletion, what user input is required for that?
Oh, you'd have to have the phone unlocked at that point. You would definitely have to have full access to the device in order to mark anything for deletion.
How hard is it to mark something for deletion?
It's fairly easy.
And the next page, which is 58, can you describe what's shown here?
At 9:29 p.m., Jade calls Nigea's phone. Nigea answers. The call lasts for 6 minutes and 9 seconds at 9:29:27 p.m.
And the next page, which is 59, can you describe, is this just added kind of the time of that call?
Oh, yes.
And can you give the duration for that call?
The duration for the call that's listed above,
Mm-hmm.
it was 6 minutes and 9 seconds.
And this next page, which is 60, can you describe what's shown here?
This is a snapshot of the call detail records that were for Blaze Taylor's device, and it indicates a 911 call on the date of the incident.
And so lines 428 and 429, that's a duplicate entry. Is that something that is fairly common with 911 with the carrier records?
Yes.
And the time being 033858, it's listed as a GMT
Yes. So ultimately, electronic devices are stored and are created with the concept of UTC or GMT time. Because we can't have a Tennessee specific phone or a Italy specific phone, we have to have kind of a zero starting point that all devices can adjust to, or at least adjust from, to get to your local time zone. So ultimately, that's kind of the zero starting point for the time. And if you apply our time zone during that time, which was standard time, not daylight savings time, because we were in February, it's going to be minus 6 hours. So just Central Standard Time at that time. So if you subtract that 6 hours, it takes us right back to 9:38:58 when the 911 call was made.
And this next page, which is 61, can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, we have a line item highlighted for an unlocked state starting at 9:29:06 and ending at 9:35:49 p.m. on the 25th of February.
And the next page, which is 62, can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, so moments after the 911, I'm sorry, not the 911 call, but moments after the phone call to Nigea's phone from Jade's device, Nigea texts Jade 2 messages. First one at 9:30:17, what's going on? And then at 9:30:22 p.m., are you talking to me?
Which I'm going to go back 3 pages. And so that phone call began at 9:29 and 27 seconds, lasted for 6 minutes and 9 seconds. So it would have ended at 9:35:36.
That's correct.
And then going down to page 62, these 2 text messages are sent during that phone call. Is that correct?
Correct, not even a minute after it started.
And did you?
All right, still watching along with us this hour, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf. Jeffrey, this witness here going through a lot of minutia of the communications, but what I want to focus on is something that's pretty glaring, a glaring hole in the prosecution's case, is that the cause of death is literally undetermined. Meaning to me, anything is on the table here. You know, it's a circumstantial case. The circumstantials aren't as strong as we've seen in other circumstantial cases that we've covered here at Court TV. I mean, I'm asking the question, what are the circumstances? Like, what are they? Just the fact that he was there? What do you make of this undetermined manner of death here, cause of death?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic, if you have opportunity and you have motive, and quite frankly, if you are the loved one, the boyfriend or the girlfriend, the husband or the wife, you're going to be the prime suspect. And that is where he was at. He was the only one in the home with her, and she died under suspicious circumstances. Unknown circumstances are suspicious. They can't point to what caused her death, and he was there. He had opportunity. He had motive. They were a recently broken up and then gotten back together couple, and she had a baby that he didn't necessarily want. And he had a life that he had built. He had a promising future ahead of him as a coach that this could have brought down, because now he had a baby to be responsible for. And so it causes law enforcement to put the blinders on and move forward. And whether they're right or wrong, that's how investigations work.
Absolutely. I mean, you referenced it the way I was going to put it there, Jeffrey, put those blinders on. You know, I felt like the state could be vulnerable to accusations of tunnel vision here because of that, those reasons that you just listed out. The idea, he's the boyfriend, he was there, proximity, the motive of the unwanted baby. But, you know, as this goes on, I feel like this is becoming as much a trial about the investigation as it is about the actual crime that occurred that Mr. Blaze Taylor is accused of here. But, Jeffrey, let's talk about the defense's theory. I know you have all the expertise of criminal defense ideology, of course. What do you make of it, saying that she might have ingested this cocaine or substances, controlled substances, on her own? Because, I mean, that's all but saying this is a victim-blaming defense theory, and we know juries don't really take too kindly to victim blaming, but that might be all the defense has going for them.
The only people that hate victim blaming more than juries are Court TV viewers, so I'm going to tread lightly here. But
you don't have to tell me twice about that.
But sometimes it's what you have to do as the defense, because it's all you got. And there is a history of drug use for this young woman, but then we have a lot of people coming forward to say that she had cleaned up her act because she was pregnant. And it is a really, really tough sell to a jury that we have an expectant, happy, expectant mother who is going to continue those kinds of habits. But we see it all too often. We see people who don't clean up their act just because they're pregnant or just because they're expecting a baby on the male or female side.
Mm-hmm.
And we see kids born under the influence all the time in this country. And so I don't think it's as simple for the prosecution as saying, hey, she's pregnant. Who keeps using when they're pregnant? I'd like to see a little bit more than just her friends coming forward to show that she's not using. I'd like to see some medical records to prove it.
Some expert testimony. Great points made there, Jeffrey. My friends, stand by. We're going to keep it here. But also, folks, we just got word out of Alaska that we have a verdict in the case against Zarrius Hildabrand. You might have saw the clock stop just after 9.5 hours of deliberations. Now, per the court's order, we can't take it live, but we'll bring it to you in a few minutes. What will that jury say? Keep it here on Court TV to find out. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Cody Thomas. After a little over 9.5 hours, the jury has returned with their verdict in the trial of Zarrius Hildabrand out of Alaska. Hildabrand took the stand to testify in his own defense, ultimately saying he does not know if he killed his wife because he was blackout drunk and couldn't remember the night before.
What were you afraid was going to happen?
I was afraid I was going to lose my family. I was afraid that I was going to go to jail for something that I had no recollection of.
You don't know that you didn't kill her.
I'm not sure I answer that. There's a lot of do's and don'ts. It's just too complicated.
Do you know if you pulled the trigger, sir?
I do not.
Now, before we get inside that courtroom for the jury's decision, let's take a quick look back at the final arguments this jury heard before they began their more than 9-hour deliberation.
They find Zarrius' body dumped in the most callous way possible. She is thrown 15 feet down. He didn't place her in that storm drain. He did nothing lovingly about this. He took her in a trash can and levered her over the top of that storm drain and dumped her 15 feet down to cover what he did.
All right, let's bring in criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf to talk about this before we go in that courtroom to get this verdict. Jeffrey, 9.5 hours. I mean, I know this was a circumstantial case, but it felt like this was an insurmountable amount of circumstances that pointed directly at Mr. Hildabrand here. I'm shocked it took this long. What are you thinking?
Well, you know, it's always nice to be put on the spot right before the verdict's read. We'll get an instant answer about whether I'm right or wrong. I think the jury is being thoughtful. And as you know from my last appearance, I don't like it when they're not. So regardless of what their verdict is, regardless of what their verdict is, I always like to see a jury take their time when someone's life is on the line. And so that is always encouraging. I know that it can be hard for people to wait. It can be hard for people in the courtroom, especially the lawyers, the defense, the prosecution, the victim family. Very hard to wait for a verdict, but jurors have a job to do. And it's very good to see them take it seriously because it is a serious job. And when they're spending 9.5 hours, what they're doing is they're actually going through the evidence. They're actually going through the jury instructions, reading the law, and making sure that they understand everything, that they're taking the proper votes, and they're giving everyone in the jury room a voice. That is what my understanding from talking to former jurors and friends of mine that have served on juries, that is what they're actually doing back there. What the verdict is almost impossible to know. Because I have seen juries come back very quickly and take a very long time and have the verdict go both ways. Now, this case itself, from what I've read of it and what I've seen of it, I would be shocked if it was a not guilty verdict. Absolutely shocked.
I would be floored, but again, we've seen stranger things have happened. Jeffrey, let's take a listen to some more of the state's closing arguments. They asked this jury 3 questions before they went back in there. Let's take a listen. Oh, actually, getting word from my producers. Let's go in live to the verdict here, Jeffrey.
Mr. Hildabrand, will you please rise? In the matter of the State of Alaska versus Zarrius Hildabrand, we, the jury, find the defendant Zarrius Hildabrand not guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant Zarrius Hildabrand guilty of a lesser included offense of murder in the second degree as charged in count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant Zarrius Hildabrand guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant Zarrius Hildabrand guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant Zarrius Hildabrand guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in count 4. Thank you. Does either party wish to have the jury polled?
No. No, Judge.
All right, thank you. I want to thank all of you for your service. This has been a long trial, a difficult trial in many ways. As I think I've noted before, you all were actively participating. I would keep an eye on you to make sure that everyone's still engaged, and I know that this is a long process, a difficult process, and you all took it very seriously and were active participants, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you on behalf of the court system and the state for your service. You are all excused at this point. Often the attorneys like an opportunity to chat with you if you're willing to stick around. You do not need to stick around. You're not obligated to do that at all. But if you want to, they may come down and chat with you if you're willing to stick around. I will come down and thank you again and then ask for any feedback that you have for how we can make things work smoother for you. But again, you don't have to stick around for that. So you've all completed your service. You're free to discuss the case at this point. And thank you very much. You're excused. Thank you. Please be seated. As the parties understand, sentencing is put out sometime for a pre-sentence report. I have 2 potential dates, October 20th at 2 p.m. or October 23rd at 10 a.m. October 20th at 2 p.m. or October 23rd at 10 a.m. And those dates, it doesn't matter that much at this point what date we pick. If it doesn't work for the parties when we get closer, just contact Chambers and we can make sure that it's a date that works for everybody. Is there a preference between those 2 dates at this point?
Yes, Judge.
And what is that preference?
I think that we will probably need some time for this hearing, for the sentencing. So I would prefer we block off a significant portion time of October 23rd.
Let me take a look if I have anything at this point. I don't think I have a date certain trial at that point, but let me...
The 23rd is a Friday.
Yes.
Right. So if we start at 10, does that work? And I can block off, what, 4-hour chunk? 2 hours?
I don't know that 4 will be sufficient, Judge. I imagine there will be a lot of statements in this case.
I don't think we need 4 hours, but I'll defer to the court.
I'll block off the day. I always love desk time when I have a chance to do some work, and so if it unless something, today we'll start at 10 o'clock and we'll take as long as we need. Does that work?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And again, if those dates end up not working for people as we get closer to it, just contact Chambers and we'll work on picking a new date. All right. Anything else today? Do either parties intend to go chat with the jurors?
I always like to hear from them, if anybody's stuck around.
I think also, yeah.
Brewster, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right. I'm going to run down there and thank them again, and then I'll get out of your way, and you folks can come down and chat with them. Thank you all. Off record.
Jeffrey Wolf, and I'm shocked. In my avoidance of using any prohibited four-letter words, I am gosh darn floored at this verdict here. Not guilty of first-degree murder, guilty of second-degree murder, and guilty of evidence tampering. I'm assuming the second degree, has no premeditation, obviously, maybe because they decided he was too drunk to premeditate a murder. But even then, is that even an excuse? I mean, we have a dead young woman here, and the thing about it, Jeffrey, I keep referencing this set of facts here regarding this case. When after all this happened, and he admitted to cleaning up and moving the body and all that, but when the police came to the apartment and they're searching the apartment and he's acting kind of funny, and then they get to the bedroom and they ask to look under the mattress topper. And he gets all weird, like, I don't know if you should look under there. I might have some embarrassing things like sex toys and what have you. And the police are like, okay, we'll just go get a warrant and come back. And when they come back, Jeffrey, it's a big, blood-soaked mattress that is soaked through the mattress to the floor. We got the guy at the store buying 96-gallon, tubs and all this different stuff. No premeditation. This is shocking to me.
Well, I think what we saw here is we saw a jury that took him at his word on the stand. And that is a little surprising to me given his affect on the stand. But what he essentially said was he was intoxicated. He doesn't remember the argument. He doesn't remember the act. And if that's the case, it's really hard for the jury to be able to reconcile that this was premeditated. Clearly, there's a cover-up. They took him at his word on that as well because he essentially confessed to that on the stand. But they don't have an answer as to how this all went down. They know there was a confrontation over the infidelity, and I think they believe that nobody but him could have committed the act based on the cover-up. And the opportunity, motive, there he is. And what I'll tell you is there's not a big difference in the sentencing in Alaska between first and second degree murder. The jury doesn't know that. They don't take sentencing into account, but this isn't going to buy him much, this verdict. But it is a surprising verdict. But it shows that back there for 9.5 hours, there was a very, very large argument going on in that jury room, and that there was a contingent that believed him. There was a contingent that didn't believe him. And the contingent that believed him won. And I'm guessing that there was nobody back there that didn't think he killed her at all. But certainly there was a compromise made, and the second degree murder was the compromise.
I mean, I feel like we have our answer as to why it took so long now. And to your point, Jeffrey, him on the stand, his affect on the stand, when the prosecution was crossing him up on cross-examination saying, okay, sir, you talked about all this guilt and remorse and shame and dishonesty and disrespect. Not once did you mention grief about your dead wife that you saw and witnessed and was bloodied up, according to him. And then they talked about how he, took a little break and, watched some pornography or something and drank some wine or whatever while his wife was over here deceased in the bedroom. He just because he's drunk, though, Jeffrey, I'm just wondering, I guess they came to their decision, is that an excuse? I mean, you could still mean to do something even though you're under the influence. It's just maybe you won't remember it, but maybe in the moment you meant to do it. I'm floored about it. And I guess, they concluded that the state failed to eliminate, the reasonable doubt surrounding the suicide and everything. Clearly he's guilty of evidence tampering, but I'm just surprised it took him at his word here.
Well, it's not an excuse and it's not a defense, right? They didn't find him not guilty of the whole thing. It's not the way that you get found not guilty of the whole thing. So frame your reaction to it a little bit differently, and the viewers should do the same. They're not saying it's a defense to the crime. They're changing the mens rea, what was going through his head and the premeditation, whether he planned this out and intended for it to happen that night, and whether he went into that night intending to murder his wife. And that's what the jury is saying. And the jury's verdict is sacrosanct. It is not anyone's job to ever sit and judge a jury's verdict for better or for worse. And at the end of the day, this jury was not convinced that he planned this out, that he intended for this to happen that night. It's more of a crime of passion verdict. And alcohol is not a defense to any crime. Voluntary intoxication is not a defense to any crime. But it's not about whether it was a defense to this murder. That's not what their verdict says. What their verdict says was that the intoxication to them meant that he didn't plan it, that the intoxication may have created a state of mind for him that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
See, this is why you're the expert, Jeffrey. This is why we bring you on. We love the expertise. I'm just sitting up here at the desk as the TV boy. Jeffrey, let's talk about sentencing here. October 23rd. What do you think the defense will be prepping going forward? I mean, we're some months away from that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a former soldier, right? So I think they're going to try and tell the judge that this does not define his entire life, that this was a moment in time. That is a defense lawyer's job, even in the most heinous of circumstances. And so what they need to do is they need to get a cast of characters from his life to paint the picture of who Zarrius is and who he has been the rest of his life, and how this ended up happening in his life, and how he ended up doing this, and what he has contributed to the world outside of what he took. That is their job. And when they say there are a lot of people that are going to want to talk, what they mean is that he has meant a lot to a lot of people before he became what he now is to this young woman's family, and what people now see him as today, is that he meant something to a lot of people before this. And that is their job, is to present that to the judge and let the judge know that he's not unredeemable.
Absolutely. I guess as bad and horrendous as this moment is, I guess not trying to define him fully in this one particular moment, but just as they said, a lot of people are going to want to talk on his behalf. I'm guaranteed there's going to be a lot that want to talk on Sarai's behalf as well. Jeffrey, stand by, my friend. After this short break, man, we got this verdict in Alaska after 9.5 hours, but we're going to return to Tennessee for that double murder poisoning trial against former NFL scout Blaze Taylor. Keep it right here on your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Cody Thomas. It started as a romantic date night, but ended in a nightmare. In February 2023, Blaze Taylor called 911 claiming his girlfriend was having a severe allergic reaction. Paramedics found her in cardiac arrest, and tragically, her unborn baby girl died 2 days later, and Benning passed away on her 25th birthday. Let's get back inside the courtroom now for more testimony from this detective on the stand.
And then just below that, a series of text confirmation that you would typically receive from like a doctor's office or something along those lines, confirming the dates and times of those appointments that were listed above, of some of the appointments that were listed above, I should say.
And the next page is 80, which is kind of a zoomed in image of a portion of the previous slide. Can you
Correct.
read into the record the dates of these appointments?
Yes, the titled doctor appointment at Vanderbilt Women's start date and time was 11/16/22 at 1:40 p.m. The following is a second OB appointment at 12/28/22 at 3:40 p.m. A third OB appointment or an anatomy scan at 2/2/23 at 9:45 a.m. I had to look this up, a non-invasive prenatal test for the blood work on 2/6/23 at 9 a.m. The following is a third OB with an Allison Mullally on 2/10/23 at 11:40 a.m. An ultrasound on 3/9/23 at 9:05 a.m. A glucose test on 3/9/23 at 11 a.m. And then a Little Sprouts Spring and Summer pop-up sale on 3/21/23 at 4:30 p.m.
And that first appointment was on November 16th of 2022, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And this next page is 81. Can you describe what's shown here?
It's a detailed portion of a video that we're about to show. That was taken at 2:34 p.m. on 11/16/22.
And can you describe what is shown here on 82?
It's a video that appears to be inside of a doctor's office, videotaping and ultrasound being displayed on a screen in a dark office.
And is that one of the video files that will be on the disc?
It is.
And the next page, which is 83, can you describe what's shown here?
It's the details for another video that we're about to display that was taken shortly after at 2:59:50 p.m.
And that is on November 16th, 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
And that is a still image on page 84 of your report. Can you describe what that video is?
Yes, it is showing Jade walking out of the appointment, seemingly pretty excited to the point of having to remove her mask to show her smile.
And is that video on the disc as well?
Yes.
And the next page, 85, is a duplicate of the previous page. Can you describe, these are all of the appointments that she has, correct?
As they relate to the pregnancy, it's not every appointment that she had in her calendar.
Okay. And that Little Sprouts event, was there additional information on her phone about that?
I don't recall if there was.
Is it possible there were messages that related specifically to that?
Yes, there were. I'm sorry. Yes.
And that was scheduled to occur on March 21st, is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes.
And this next page is 86. Can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, Jade had created 2 boards on her Pinterest account, one titled Baby Nursery Inspiration and the other titled Baby Shower Ideas. First one was created or started on 12/16/22 at 10:39 p.m. and the other was created or started on 1/16/23 at 8:48 p.m.
And this next image kind of takes us a little bit out of sequence, but can you describe what is shown here on page 87?
Yes, it's a series of texts between Jade and Blaze on 9/28/22, starting at 9:45:35 a.m.
And this next page, 88, can you describe what's shown here?
It's a detail. It's the details for the very first text, just kind of giving a little bit more in-depth look at the starting of the conversation.
And this next page, which is 89, can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, it's a continuation of the same conversation, the same day, just a little bit later on at 6:52:01 p.m. Between, again, Jade and Blaze.
And can you read into the record the content of that message at 6:52:01?
Yes, that very first message from Jade to Blaze. I want to come stay with you again tonight. Blaze responds at 10:59:38 p.m. Yes, that's fine. So sorry, I definitely thought I'd responded, just was getting ready for bed and was like, dang, she hasn't responded back. And it was me who didn't respond with an emoji. Jade then responds at 11:04:46. LOL, it's all good. I'm finishing up at the gym. I'll come there in a minute at 11:04:46. And then follows up about 6 minutes later with on my way. Blaze responds at 11:11:16 that his door is unlocked. And about a minute later, Jade responds loving his last text.
And were you specifically asked to look to see if they had contact kind of right there at the end of September?
Yes, I was.
And the next page, which is 90, can you describe what's shown here?
This is just a little bit more detail about the very last text that was sent in that string, just giving a little bit more information on it from the beginning to the end of the conversation.
And the next page, which is 91, can you describe what's shown here?
There were 4 notes located in her phone that were of a pregnancy mindset, 4 notes were started, one titled Baby Names, one titled Baby List Needs, one titled Ultrasound Appointment, and another titled Baby Shower.
And the next page, which is 92, can you describe what's shown here?
This is a series of line items from her inbox or her email. These are all email lists that she had signed up for that are all either parenting related, baby related, pregnancy related, of that nature. So she had 5 of them that she had actually subscribed to.
And the next page, which is 93, can you describe what's shown here?
It's a series of videos that I located inside of her device that were videos of an Amazon checkout, or like an in-cart before you check out, so in your basket for Amazon, 2 of those for Amazon, another one for Old Navy, and another for another child-related website, all indicating items that she had in her cart ready for purchase.
And are all 4 of those videos between 2/20/2023 and 2/22/2023?
That's correct, yes. The detail portion down there at the very bottom is in correlation with the still image directly above it. Again, these are all videos, so these are just a still shot of the video.
And this is 4 separate things that you kind of consolidated.
Correct.
Did you
Correct.
pull every single pregnancy-related item from Ms. Binning's phone?
No, not at all. This is just a sampling of what I located.
Was it somewhat just constant?
Yes.
From the beginning of November until February 25th of 2023?
Yeah, it was very, very constant.
And the next page is 94. Can you describe what's shown here?
An image that made me think she was treating herself right and working with the pregnancy by creating mocktails and posting that to some friends on Snapchat.
And did you specifically look for any evidence of alcohol use, marijuana use, things of that nature?
Correct, yes.
And did you find this kind of looking for that type of thing?
Amongst other things, yes.
And this next image, which is 95, can you describe what's shown here?
Yes, it's a photograph of Jade at a local gym, or her gym, and she I found it important to say that she noted that we made it to the gym today. So my inference is her referring to her and her unborn.
And what type of artifact is this?
This is a Snapchat artifact.
And what's the date for the record?
It was created on 1/11/23 at 1:03 p.m.
And the next page, which is 96, can you describe what's shown here?
It's a photograph that was taken on February 2nd, 2023 at 9:24 a.m. And again, it appears that she is in a doctor's office with a ultrasound image up on a screen in the room.
And can you describe what is an HEIC file?
It's a high efficiency image container, and it's just a really fancy term for that Apple uses for their images. It's just a very high.
All right, still watching along with us, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf. Jeffrey, they're walking through a lot of phone communications and Snapchat stories and what have you here. Kind of getting lost upon me. Where do you think they're kind of going with some of this? What are they trying to do here?
Well, where they were at just now is he's starting to try and establish his own little theory about how well she was taking care of herself during this pregnancy. Went through some doctor's appointments, went through the mood she was in during the doctor's appointments, going through the mocktail recipes that she's getting off of Pinterest, going to the gym, things like that. This is going towards, the fact that they don't think she was on any drugs or drinking during the pregnancy. It's not necessarily proof that she wasn't. It's what the public face she was putting forward. I think we all know that the face that somebody puts on social media isn't necessarily who they actually are. And it's a nice little show by this detective, but it's not necessarily the truth of who somebody is. And, I think the prosecution might want to be careful that they don't step in it.
Absolutely. And one thing about the defense, too, here, Jeffrey, in this case, is that they keep returning to the fact that, these friends and family members, went to this apartment, entered the apartment following this incident. I understand that's a critical issue for the defense here because essentially that's kind of like a compromised crime scene where they're moving things and removing things. Of course, at the time, it wasn't a crime scene per se, but the thing about it is, once investigators got around to it, the question remains whether investigators could have gotten, an accurate analysis of this crime scene given how many people have come and gone.
Right, absolutely. And what did they not know to look for when it wasn't a crime scene any longer? What could the defense have, found if they had returned to the scene that maybe the friends and family knows are there that the police didn't know was there? What could they have been removing? They will say what they removed, but you don't know what they took.
Mm-hmm.
And, you want to secure a potential murder scene for, longer than just the night in question. It's odd that people were allowed to go in and that people certainly were allowed to take things and move things. That's not appropriate.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, because to me, it's like, how much reasonable doubt could you create by showing investigators missed, potentially crucial evidence? I mean, they talked about the removal of this comforter containing vomit by her friend, which could create, a genuine evidentiary problem for these prosecutors as they move forward. I mentioned before, I feel like some parts of this is a trial as much about the investigation as it is about the crime itself, or the alleged crime, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about vomit that could contain biological samples of what was in her system at the time that all of this went down, we're talking about cocaine. We're talking about something that goes through your system very quickly. And so, all biological samples matter when you're talking about cocaine. And quite frankly, you have no idea what somebody took out. You know what they're telling us that they took, but we have no idea what they actually took.
Absolutely. Jeffrey Wolf, thank you so much for joining us tonight, my friend. Your expertise, always welcomed. We'll do it again soon. Folks, stand by. We're going to keep it right here. We're going to keep it right here in Tennessee after this short break. Keep it here on Court TV.